Okay, good evening, everybody. It is 7 o'clock and we are going to get started right now. So, welcome. There will be some people joining as we get started. So, participant list is kind of growing. I want to give you a heads up if you don't already know that this class, just this class tonight, is being broadcast live on YouTube. So if you don't want your lovely face on YouTube right now, you can stop your video, but keep that sound on so you can hear everything going on and keep your screen on. Okay. Mimi, I hope you have your dog back on the screen because that was very cute. So wherever you are, Mimi, please bring your dog back. Welcome, everybody. I hope you're hanging in there. I think we're on almost month 2 of our shelter in place, and we are almost in month 2 of doing all of our CA Realty classes on Zoom. So I'm very proud of you for sticking it out. I know it's an adjustment and a change, and it really takes a lot to stay committed with all these changes going on in our lives. I know we're all at different places. And for those of you that are new, I'm glad you guys are making that commitment to join as well and do something new in your life. I'm very excited to help you on your journey. Because it's our first class of the month and we are going to be doing practices this month, I'm going to do a couple of housekeeping things. Number one, for those who are fairly new to Zoom, look at the bottom of your screen. If you hover over, there's a little menu bar and you can see there's a mute, a stop or start video, participants, a chat box. So everybody's muted right now because we have a large group of people. But I will be stopping for questions throughout class. And at that point, you can raise your hand. There's a little button to raise your hand under your name and the participants. Or you can utilize a chat box, which some of you are already very familiar with, and put your question in there. Okay. So I think we've done a pretty good job of keeping participation going, utilizing these features. So please, please don't feel like in a large class that you are not heard or that you won't have your question answered, because everybody's been very, very helpful. And I try and answer everything that comes through the chat box. Okay. So utilize those functions. There's a cute little reactions thing as well if you want to give a thumbs up or a little smiley face. So, and unfortunately, those are the only 2 emojis. And make sure you're in a quiet place where you can focus. I know it's hard sometimes being at home. There's a lot of distractions. I feel you. So really try and focus. If you have the textbooks already, you can try and follow along the textbook as well. If you've already accessed your student portal, for those who are registered already, these presentations, every single one of them are actually on the portal. So you can download them, print them out, look at them later, whatever you want to do. Okay. These are not mandatory classes at all. So if you miss something, you miss it. But every class, we are going to be covering 2 to 3 chapters. So this week we're covering 5 chapters. Tonight we're covering chapters 1 and 2. And if you don't want to do the classes and you find that this is not how you learn best, that's okay. We have pre-recorded classes. You can call CA Realty and sign up for those, okay? But they're 2 different things. So you can't do the online and the pre-recorded. It's one or the other, all right? All of this content outside of this class tonight is not recorded, just to preserve the content for all of the paying students and registered students tonight. So, so I'm glad you're here. Everybody learns differently. Some people learn better audio. Some people learn better visual. Some people like to read on their own time. It's totally up to you in finding what works best for you. One thing I do also want to start with tonight is because our market is changing and there's so much going on and everybody is going through different things, whether it's homeschooling, whether it's having to all of a sudden be out of work and trying to make ends meet. One thing that I want you guys to think about is we can control our mindset, right? So we can control what we are going to think. And we can also control our own actions and our responses. So we can't control the environment and the circumstances and things that are happening around us, what we in real estate like to call the shift, okay? But our mindset, we can shift. And our actions, we can control, correct? So having a good outlook when things are easy, when things are going well, that's easy to do. The hard part is when things change around us and having to rise up to that challenge. So right now we've all been challenged in the past couple months, in changing perhaps the way we think and perhaps the way we are doing things. I hope you all agree with that. So I want you guys to think about, especially in real estate and in business, there's a tendency to be either overly optimistic about things. Oh, the market's going well, and it is actually not too bad. I'm in the LA area. Or being overly pessimistic and thinking, oh my God, everything's going to shut down. Everyone's going to be doing a fire sale. Or the third option is just being realistic. Okay. And I think that's an important thing to remember as you get into this business. You don't want to make things better or worse than they are. You just want to look at the way things are happening right now. So that's a big part of mindset. And realists are those who respond to the fact that failure is a possibility. Okay. So, and I'm telling you this right now because I want you to know that whatever you're doing today, you're doing the best you can. Whatever you do this week, you're doing the best that you can. You joining this class is a great step forward. Okay. And you're preparing for your future. Maybe some weeks you don't have time to study as much, or maybe some weeks you miss a class. And again, that's okay. It's not failing. You're learning how to succeed better. Okay. So keep at it, stay with it. We will be in class at some point soon, so that's going to happen. We just don't know exactly the date, but we're preparing to be in class at some point. And that's really the way I like to teach personally, especially for a class like this. I love to introduce people, have yourself give introductions, and we can't do that tonight. But just know that you're making the best decisions that you can right now. And being overly optimistic is not shift proof. Being overly pessimistic closes you to opportunities. But when you're realistic, you hope for the best, prepare for the worst. Okay. So keep doing what you're doing. Tonight, we're going to start with a introduction to real estate. So some of this might be redundant to returning students. And then we're actually going to get into the first 2 chapters. Again, I'm going to be able to stop for questions. So don't hesitate to raise your hand or chat with me. And are you guys ready to get started? Yes? Okay. Awesome. I love it. Thumbs up. Okay. So I'm going to share my screen. So give me a second here. We'll get into the PowerPoint. Okay, welcome to CA Realty. By the way, what I just shared with you in regards to talking about being realistic is not something I made up. It's actually something that we discuss through our Keller Williams Bold Training program because I work with Keller Williams. So that's something that's been shared with a lot of agents, and we've been actually all going through a training right now called Bold Pivot to adjust to the shifts in our market right now. So it's something that a lot of agents are committing themselves to changing as well. Okay. All right. Quick introduction for all of you, and especially for those who are new. This is your first class. Again, welcome. If you are pursuing your real estate license for the first time, just so you know, California has its own specific state requirements in order for you to be able to take the exam. As you probably are somewhat aware, you have to pass 3 courses: real estate principles, real estate practices, the 2 mandatory courses, and then 1 elective. There's a few different electives out there, but the one that CA Realty teaches is finance. Okay. And honestly, I took finance as my elective when I was studying for the exam. And that's probably the one that's going to be most applicable to your real life business. And it's also one that you might see that topic come up a little bit more as an exam question. Okay. So finance is our elective that we teach you. When you sign up for the course, there are 3 modules, 1 module per month. You do not, like I said, have to participate in the classes unless you want to, but you will get a portal in order to give you access to all 3 courses. So the first 3 months, you can take 1 course per month, and then you have an entire year from the day that you purchase your course to complete all of your quizzes and exams. This portal is where all of your quizzes, exams, and study material are going to be located, including the presentations that I go through in class. So each chapter has a very, very short 10-question quiz. And then at the end of the entire course, each course is 15 chapters, you will have an entire online exam. This is very important for you to pass. The online exam is timed. It's 2 hours, 100 questions. And when you pass that, you will be able to print out a certificate from this portal. And that certificate is what you need to send to the Department of Real Estate in California to prove that you passed the course. Okay, so very important. You should take all your chapter quizzes. They go in order, so you can't skip. You have to do chapter 1 first, then chapter 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. When you're done with all those, it will allow you to take the final exam. Once you pass the final exam, you should print out a certificate, and that is what you will mail in for your application. Okay, so very, very important to know all this information. The certificates are proof, like I said, that you've passed it. You can retake the test if you don't pass the first time. So it's okay. They are all, most importantly, open book quizzes and the final exams. You can use your book. When you actually take the real estate license exam, it is not open book. So you want to be aware that the exam itself is not open book, but all of your quizzes and all of your course exams are. The actual license exam is a 70% passing score. For your final course exams, it's 60%. That being said, I always tell students, try and get 70% because that gives you good practice for the actual exam. Okay, so to recap, portal for your own access, you'll have a login. All of your quizzes, study material, and final course exams will be on the portal. Once you pass, you'll have a certificate that you'll be able to print out from the portal to submit for your license exam. Each month we do a new module. So this month is all practices. We just did finance last month. And then next month will be on principles. And then we kind of rotate. Classes are not mandatory, but they're only available to you for the first 3 months. You have an entire year to complete all of your courses. All right, any questions on that? I see some chats. Yes, finance is what we took last month. Okay. Any other questions? Oh no, Jessica, you haven't got. I am not aware that books are in back order. However, I will send a note to CA Realty just to see what's going on, because typically other students have said they've received it within a couple of days. So you may want to give them a call and I will definitely let them know. Okay. Ryan, are there practice exams we can take? No, there technically aren't. That's what your quizzes are, sort of in a very short form. But again, you can retake the exams and they are open book for you. Okay, so in a way, your courses are really practice exams for the final license exam, but there's no actual practice exams for the course exams, if that makes any sense. And Ryan, if it doesn't, let me know. Okay, and Sherry said there are practice tests in the book. Great. So if you have the book, you should be able to see some additional questions in there. All right. Other questions? No? Okay. Oh, I'm sorry, I just missed one. So we can take a class again. I took finance last month. Aileen, I wanted to take it again, whether in person, online. That is a question for CA Realty. I know that they do allow some people to take or retake entire courses. Sometimes people are out of town or something in their life changes. So give them a call. There might be a small fee. It's like $80 or around that, but you can retake an entire month of classes. How many questions are in the exam? Okay, I'm not sure which exam you're referring to, the course exam or the license exam, but the course exam has 100 questions and the license exam is 150. Okay, good questions. Other questions from folks? Okay, great. I am going to move on here. Okay, so regardless if you take class or not, you will get, like I said, textbooks, optional pre-recorded trainings. And then if you do take the class, you'll obviously have my own teaching real estate experience and advice that I add to classes. I will talk about sometimes typical activities, actual transactions. Sometimes I bunny trail a little bit too much, but we get to share a lot of information and discuss with each other as much as we can online. And then you'll see some actual examples of contracts and disclosures that are used in real estate transactions in California. Okay. I see some questions real quick. Okay. Oh, we answered that. All right. So, quick review for real estate itself. In real estate, these are the parties that typically take part in a transaction. The last one is not a party, but more of an action. So you have to have buyers and sellers, right? So buyers are those that are looking to purchase any type of real estate. That could include homes, land, commercial, business, income properties. That's all real estate. They can purchase either with cash or through financing with a loan. Sellers are those that are selling real estate, right? So they have to sell and have something in exchange for the consideration of their sale. Real estate agents, what you are studying to be, is really that person who is orchestrating that transaction. So whether you're representing the buyer or the seller, it's basically helping them to negotiate, helping them navigate through the sale, helping them with paperwork and documents, and really working with a lot of different parties in order to make this happen, which we will learn about. Escrow is the neutral third party that manages every detail of the transaction as soon as the offer is accepted. So they are basically a holding party for all the documents, all the wired funds that have to do with the transaction. They are also in touch with the lender if the buyer has a loan in order to get documents from them. And of course, they're in touch with both of the agents to get all of the contract documents that are executed. So escrow is a really, really integral part of the entire transaction. The lender is also very integral. Again, if your buyer is looking for a loan, that person is basically going to be your partner if you're representing the buyer. You're going to be working with them from even before escrow happens, from maybe the moment they start home searching because they need to get a loan pre-approval. So I consider my lenders as partners in my transaction. I have very good relationships with them, and both of us have the same goal of successfully closing the sale. And most importantly, we get paid at the end. So that's the sale doesn't close, we don't get paid. So everybody gets paid once the sale closes successfully. Lastly, prospecting, which again is not a party, it's an action, is probably the most important thing to keep you in business, because prospecting is lead generation. It's getting clients. And if you cannot do that, then there's no business to be had, right? And I don't know how many of you have seen that movie, Glenn Ross. It's an older movie. I want to say it's maybe in the 80s. Some famous people in it. Alec Baldwin has a phenomenal role in it. But it's about salesmen. It's a film noir. And one of the things Alec Baldwin, who's the boss, comes in and threatens them with is firing them if they don't get their sales done. And one of their incentives is if they do, they get a box of leads, a secret box of leads. However, in real life, here today, right now, we don't have any secret box of leads. We got to go out and get our business. So prospecting is so, so, so important. And I don't know how many of you have had sales in your background. I'm sure all of you have had customer service, but you know what it's like. It's a lot of hustling, okay? And it could be the key to you succeeding or not succeeding. Misha, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing your name right, Mika or Misha. Classes are held for this class twice a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays. So thank you, I forgot to mention that. Tuesdays and Thursdays from 7 to 9 p.m. And they are held the first 3 weeks of each month. So this week, next week, and the following week, we're going to cover all of the chapters. And then we always have the last week off. So the last week, there's no classes until the next month. Okay. Another question. How much time do we have for course exam? I believe it's 2 hours. 2 hours for the course exam. Okay, good. Now, before I get into session 1, which is chapter 1, that was our quick intro. I'd love to know, what are you guys, especially those who are just joining us for the first time, looking to achieve, or what is your big why? Why are you pursuing real estate? And again, normally I have these open conversations when we're in class, and I'm sorry I can't do that with this format, but please use your chat box or raise your hand if you'd like to talk. But I'd love to see, and I'm sure that everybody else in the class would love to see, what are the reasons you're pursuing real estate? And what is the big why for you? So again, if you don't know where your chat box is, just kind of hover bottom of your screen or the top and you should see a menu bar. Okay, Mia said money, change of scenery. Okay. Curtis says he enjoys helping families look for homes. Great. Some of you sticking your toe in to see if it's a possible career move. Control over time, be your own boss. Creating company, fantastic. Adam says creating company. Aileen, another stream of income. Absolutely, you want to diversify your income if you can. This is a great way to do it. And real estate, you can do part-time or full-time. So, you know, we have a mix of both at my office. And because I'm in LA, we have people who are actors and musicians who are also real estate agents. So, you know, you can do whatever you want as long as you put that effort into it. Okay, Marie, add another service to your business. Marie, what do you do? What other business do you do? Love to know. Evan, are you already investors? So you want to be involved in several aspects? Great. Some of you may be wanting to invest or sell real estate personally as well. Okay. Shalimar, you work in a super busy restaurant, want to try a different type of service. Okay, so you're used to customer service, I'm sure. Retirement income, expose yourself to new opportunities, says Michael. Great. Jessica's currently in property management, wants to start making more money. Fantastic. Don't be afraid, you guys, to say that you want to make more money or have financial freedom, because that is a really big driving reason. And some people just want to make the money so they can have a different life or other life. So someone said, I'm an entrepreneur and love the idea of earning large commissions. Yes, don't we all? Okay, career opportunity, financial aspect, great. Zachary says he wants to utilize his social ability and my connections to close deals. Oh yeah, that's very important. Having that networking skill and relationship building skill. This is about relationships. This is about sales, but it's about relationships when you get to the heart of it. Great. I love all these. When I say what's your big why, you know, what I'm talking about is, you know, perhaps you're a single mom and you've got 2 kids and everything you do, they are your why. Okay. Or you have a family or maybe a parent that's elderly and you're doing this to help support them. You know, whatever the case is, think about what's your driving motivation. What's going to keep you working on those days that are tough and on the times when things seem very frustrating? Okay. Because I would love to say that this is just like, you know, HGTV shows and everything goes swimmingly well, but it doesn't. There's a lot of frustration, hard days as well. So what's going to keep you motivated through those time periods? Okay, Renee said your family is your why. You want to provide a comfortable and fun life for years to come. Great. Mark, what's a good life change? Yep. Jessica, flexible schedule. Anthony says he's interested in financial freedom. He's been working in corporate America for over 25 years in management. So, and you know, Anthony, I worked in all corporate America for many years, big global companies, ones that you might have heard of, ESPN Radio, Ogilvy Marketing and Relations. And you know, this was a big change for me, but I really felt like it was time. It's time to take all that learning and put it to use and see what I could do. So that's a big thing, but I think it'll be a benefit as well. Okay, Shalimar said your husband's your big why, going through a marriage visa process and cannot wait to start something of your own. That's fantastic. You know, I've even heard of people, you know, I had another agent that I used to work with who wanted to actually start like a pet adoption service, and this was her way of funding it. You know, so for some people, even though they enjoy real estate's not their life. Real estate is the way for them to fund their perfect life. Okay, so Ryan, what prompted you to switch? Well, that's a long story, but I'm gonna try and keep it short. But I have a lot of people in my family, including my parents, who were in real estate. They are now retired. Well, my mother passed away, but they retired after at least 20 some years having their own business, building a team, having an office in Chicago, which is my hometown. So for many years, they wanted me to get into it. I was working in corporate marketing and sales at that time. And it wasn't until I moved to Los Angeles yes, 312. It wasn't until I moved to Los Angeles a few years ago that I not only moved to a new city and started a new life there, but also started a whole new career. And I thought, why not? This is the opportune time to do something on my own, be my own boss. And really, it's a challenge to see, you guys, see what you are capable of. And if you want to put your feet to the fire, you're doing it right now, because this is seeing what you're capable of doing. Okay. And so my career has grown into different directions since then. I still sell and work with buyers and sellers, but I also teach a lot. I'm one of few coaches at my office. I teach these classes, obviously. I'm the lead trainer for my office there. And I also teach skills training classes to new agents and other agents as well. So, you know, it's kind of branched off into a lot of different things. Shalimar, Chicago. We always have some Chicago people on this, so that's great. If anyone you need pizza recommendations, I'm your woman. But anyway, so great. Thank you guys for taking a few minutes to share what's important to you, why you are doing this, and I want you to remember these reasons, okay, as you go through this process, because it may take a few months till you get that license, but remember why you're doing what you're doing. Okay, so everybody who has been in class before, if you have your book, we're going to be starting chapter 1 right now. If you don't have a book, it's okay. Just follow along. And if you do sign up for CA Realty, you'll be able to catch it with us at some point, whether it's this month or the next month. Okay, all right. So practices is the foundation of our daily business. So it's the real life business that realtors do. So that's why hi Daniel, that's why we call it practices, okay? So real estate really drives our economy. The United States is heavily impacted by the real estate market. And if you're wondering how that is, well, everybody needs shelter of some sort, right? So you're going to be either buying or renting or selling your property to live somewhere else. And that is the key to real estate, is everybody needs some shelter. So that is why even with this pandemic, real estate was considered an essential business. We had to make adjustments to how we did our business, but our business did not stop. And actually, against all people, a lot of agents' expectations, the market's been doing pretty well, okay, as far as selling and buying. So it's really kind of surprised us all in a good way. So I like to tell people that when I start a transaction, I'm employing a lot of folks. How is that? Well, every time I have either buyer or seller start a transaction, I employ a lot of people. All of a sudden, I've got my transaction coordinator working. I've got the lender working. I now have an escrow company, a title rep, inspector or inspectors working. So all of these people are involved in a sale, and they all now have work and a job whenever you start a transaction. So think about that in terms of how much we impact. It's not just the home itself that we're selling, but there's so many other working pieces and aspects to that sale, okay? Even there's an NHD rep, a natural hazard disclosure rep. There are termite inspectors. I mean, there's so many people, contractors that you don't think of right off the bat, house cleaners, okay? So I really bristle when people compare real estate agents to car salesmen. Nothing against car salesmen, but you know, they don't have the best perception out there. And when they did a survey of the public in recent research, real estate agents were ranked only one level above car salesmen. So the perception out there is that they're pushy, they're only in it for the money, et cetera, et cetera. And our job is to change that perception. We're coming from contribution. We're helping people with the biggest purchase, possibly the biggest purchases of their lives. And we're also helping to drive the economy, giving other people work and employment, which we desperately need right now. So, okay, so we'll talk. I don't want to talk about the crash right now. We have many opportunities to talk about the recession, so we'll get to that. Okay, so as we've already kind of covered, there's a lot of benefits to real estate. If you really make an effort into it, high earning potential. It's probably the only job out there, unless you can name another one, that has unlimited earning potential. There is no ceiling on your salary. Even the President of the United States has a ceiling on their salary. But real estate, I like to compare it to golf. You can play it well into your old age if you play it right. Okay. Freedom, as we talked about, you get to set your own schedule. The important thing is have a schedule. So a lot of agents, when they first start, they just think, oh, great, I can do whatever I want. And they don't actually time manage or organize or have a schedule. So yes, you do have the freedom to be your own boss and control and manage your time, but you should have a system and you should have a schedule. Flexibility, obviously, you can conduct your business wherever you want. I actually work from home primarily. So I typically only go in the office for meetings and classes and other things, but I have a home office. And then mentors. So as mentioned, I'm one of a few coaches in my office and I love coaching people. And mentors are very, very important because as the industry changes, as you go into new deal, every new deal is very different. You want to make sure you have people who are willing to train you, guide you, advise you. And that's the great thing about this career is that there are many people who are available in order to do that if you find the right people. Okay. All right. Our most important slide probably that you're all been waiting for is commission. So what is commission? Well, it's how we get paid. So versus getting a salary or an hourly wage, we get a percentage of whatever sale that we close. So commission is only paid after the escrow or the sale closes, and it's typically calculated as a percentage of the selling price. There is actually no set standard for commission percentage, but there are typical common percentages. So you will see a lot, 2.5%. If you see 3, great. Maybe even 4, you'll see 2. So 2.5 to 3 is probably the most common, but there is actually no set guideline or legal standard for this. So for example, if you're selling $1 million house and you're getting a 3% commission on that, that comes out to 30% commission. So not too shabby. And since we're in California, this $1 million price tag is probably pretty commonplace. Now we'll go into breakdown a little bit more, but that 3% you should really look at as 1.5. Okay, always look at half of that because you're going to be paying, you need to set aside a certain amount for taxes. You've got franchise fees, other fees that you're paying your office, including insurance, marketing costs, whatever. Okay, so, and there's also the agency split, the split that you have with your brokerage. But in general, that's a very good percentage. Even if you get half of that, that's take home pay. That's $15,000, not too shabby. Okay. So broker compensation and agent compensation are two different things. This is what was known as the agency split. Okay. So for example, if you have a 70-30 agency or office split, that means 70% going to you and 30% going to your office. This is split from after your commission split. So if you have 3% on $1 million house, that's $30,000. You get the 70% of $30,000. That's $21,000, and the office gets 30%. Does that make sense, everybody? Okay. So when you get commission, if you worked a job with commission, you know it's typically gross pay, meaning no taxes are taken out of that. That's why it's important for you to take the taxes out yourself, whether it's putting into a sub account in your bank or wherever. Okay. But you need to start calculating from that 3% how much is actually taken out. But just know that whoever you work with, whatever brokerage, there's likely to be agency split unless you become a broker yourself. The other thing that's important for you to know is that you cannot get paid by anyone but your broker. So it's not like you're going to get a check from the seller or the check from the escrow company directly. Only your broker can pay you. So whatever checks come out of a sale gets sent to your office. The office then takes out whatever cuts and percentage splits and so on and so forth. And then they issue a check directly to you. Okay, I'm going to stop right now for questions before we go into the next slide. So feel free to raise your hand or use the chat box. So Mark, if you sign up today, do you start this month or will it be better to start next month? That's up to you. I would definitely ask CA Realty what's available. Because we're all online, I think you should be able to start this month. But typically, if we have in-person classes, they do have a maximum amount of people that they take for those. So those can be sold out. But since we're still doing Zoom classes right now, you may be able to get in for the rest of this month. Okay, so definitely give them a call and ask. Susan, we are in practices right now. Lionel, once you get your license, what would be your advice on finding the right mentor? That's a really great question. So once you have your license, you can even start interviewing brokerages before you get your license. Maybe you have your exam dates scheduled already, or you've already taken your exam, and you're just waiting on the certificate. So really finding the right mentor is going to be a personality fit. Okay. So like I said, we used to have only 6 mentors. I think we now have 8 at my office. And they do try and disperse them equally, but sometimes there's just certain agents that work better with other agents. So maybe there's someone that's a little more extroverted or somebody that's a little bit more serious. And really it's about a personality fit. But I think the biggest thing is making sure that that person has the experience, okay, that is there to encourage you, has the time, most importantly, to walk through things with you, be accessible when you have questions, because sometimes you might have questions at 11 p.m. on a Friday because you have to write an offer, so that they are willing to be there as far as time-wise and taking that extra time to handhold you in the beginning. And that they really care, more importantly, about you succeeding, okay? It's really about everybody's different and their goals in life are different. So it's about making sure that they are invested in you as a person, not just as an agent. Okay, so that's my nutshell of that. Hopefully that helps. Anthony, yes, copies of this presentation are available in the student portal. Oh, missing a question. Curtis, great. I'm glad you signed up. Welcome. Nia, why do you have to work under a broker? Because that's the law. So when you become a salesperson, they actually call you a salesperson, otherwise known as an agent. You can only work under a broker. However, you can, if you have aspirations to become a broker, take a broker license, okay? But the broker license is not available for you to take until you've had at least 2 years of work as a salesperson, okay? So until then, or if you never get your broker's license, you have to hang your license with a broker. Ryan, how long does one typically work with a mentor, and on average, how much commission do they take? Okay, that's going to vary a lot based on your own skills. And there are agents out there that have been in the business for 20 years and they still have a coach and mentor, because it's like a therapist, you know, like it's not like one day you just learned everything and you're done. You are continually learning. You're continually trying to be better at your work and bettering yourself. So some people have coaches for a long time for their career. If you go out and hire a coach, they can be very expensive. They are either taking a percentage of your commission, or maybe it's a flat fee. You know, I've heard it upwards up to like 12,000 or so a month. So that's somebody who's going to commit themselves to be a high producing agent to take on someone of that much financial commitment. But at our office, when you're a new agent, and I can only speak for my office, new agents actually have a mentor for their first 2 deals. And then after that, they graduate from our launch program. And the commission is split 50-50. But again, that's just for my office. It's going to differ in different places. Okay. Zachary's, it's still common to have a buyer and seller agent, or is it one agent representing both parties? If there are 2 agents representing buyer and seller, then does the commission get split between the 2 agents and brokers? Yes and yes. So basically, you can work, when you're a salesperson, you can work with both buyers and sellers. Some people only want to work with buyers, and they're known as buyer's agents. It's totally up to you. If you want to represent both parties, that would be known as a dual agency, which we will talk about in the course. Dual agency, I don't recommend unless you have already worked with the seller and buyer separately in your past and have experience working with both parties, because it can get very tricky, and there's a fine line between fiduciary duty, which again is going to be covered in principles course, fiduciary duty. It is a legal part of your job. So dual agency is an option as well. If there are 2 agents representing, then yes, the commission gets split. So that 3% that you guys saw was probably 6% in the listing contract, and they split it evenly between the 2 agents. So listing agent got 3%, selling agent got 3%. Okay. Is the 70-30 split the usual cut? And has it been higher or lower? Hey, you guys, first thing I want you to learn in sales, everything's negotiable. Okay. So 70-30 split is very common, especially for new agents. But prove yourself. If you can make a case for yourself, or show that you have experience, or show that you have that, go-getter attitude, you never know what you might get. Always ask for more, because wherever it falls, it'll be close to whatever you're asking for. So, 80-20 is common, more so for experienced agents. Okay. 70-30 is usual for new, but negotiate, because you can negotiate your agency split. All right. Any other questions? These are all great questions. Any other questions? All right. I'm going to move on. So areas of brokerage activity, residential sales. So when you are a new agent, I think most, if not all, new agents get right into residential sales, and that's working with a buyer or seller, and that's selling these type of real estate, either single family homes, condominiums, townhomes, anything from 1 to 4 units is considered a residential property. So if you have a duplex, a triplex, a fourplex, that's still residential property. Anything more than 4 units is considered commercial. So if it's a 5-unit building, that would have to be handled by a commercial agent, which you can be certified as commercial if that's an area that you would like to get into or focus on. Okay, but residential is typically the most popular. And the reason is because the contracts are pretty straightforward. There's a lot of paperwork, but it's not as intimidating. Okay. It's easier to break into because you can get success sooner. What does that mean? Well, sphere of influence, your SOI, are your family and friends. So usually someone in your family, friend circle, or someone they know are looking to buy or sell a home or rent a property. Okay. And there you go. You have some potential clientele. So it's a little bit easier than having to network with investors or other big companies. And most new agents can identify with home ownership. So maybe some of you are homeowners, and this is an area that you can definitely relate to. So as mentioned, everybody needs a home, right? So home ownership is one of those things that we can all really attest to or understand that desire. Okay, commercial, yes. So somebody asked, is commercial a separate test? There is certifications for commercial, definitely. Daniel, if someone I know wants to sell a home and wanted me to help them sell it, would I make more? Daniel, can you please expand on your question? What do you mean, would you make more? And you can type it if you'd like, or raise your hand. Versus if you help them buy. Oh, I see. Okay. No, if you are selling a home versus helping a buyer, if you're helping a seller versus helping a buyer, it's not going to be more or less, because again, it's going to be dictated by whatever the commission split is. Okay. And that commission split is typically stated very clearly in the MLS. So you will know exactly what that split is. Okay. At least on the buyer side, you'll know. And if you're on the seller side, you'll know. So it's not always more or less. It just depends on what was written in the listing agreement. Okay. Fawad, I'm sorry, I might be butchering your name. I apologize. You do have to get your real estate license before commercial. Yes. Absolutely. Maria said, can we help a seller sell their home without a license? No, you cannot sell any real estate without a license in that state. Okay. And this is very important. Please don't sell any real estate without being licensed. And you can also help with rentals, but you have to be licensed. So definitely, now you'll see for sale by owners. Those are people just trying to sell their home. That's fine, but you can't, that's them selling your own home. But as far as you taking on a client, you need to be licensed in order to help them sell. Okay. Ryan, on average, how long does it take to close on a property in California? You know what? California is a very big state, so it depends on where you live. Every market is very, very different. I'm sure those in NorCal are seeing perhaps slightly different or very different time periods than Los Angeles or San Diego. So again, I'm in Los Angeles. So here, well, a few years ago when we were at a peak, we were selling homes in less than 2 weeks. And you heard that correct. Now the days on market a little bit longer. And now with the pandemic happening, it's been all over the board. So it really depends on the market activity, depending on what neighborhood or city or location you are trying to sell in. Okay. So that's sort of a more specific answer. David, if I had a license in 2006 and never used it, is there a fast pace to relicense? That is a great question for the DRE. So I don't exactly know, and I don't want to tell you the wrong information. So please either call or email the DRE. If you go to their website, I think it's cre.ca.gov, and go into licensees. In that menu bar, there's a licensees option, and they should have some questions and a way for you to contact them. Okay. Shalimar, are real estate licenses state transferable? Very, very good question. Not too much. Now, there might be certain states that I'm not aware of. Okay. So maybe some have a reciprocal agreement, but to my knowledge, no. So if I was to sell real estate in Nevada or Arizona or Washington, I would need to take their test and pass their state exam in order to be licensed to sell in their state. Okay. So right now you guys are studying for California only. Now, California, again, is a very big state, so you can sell anywhere, but you cannot sell in another state without having a license in that state. That being said, many people have aspirations of getting licensed in other states, and that's great. That's fantastic. My personal opinion is that you should already have some business there already or potential clientele, because it's expensive to keep up costs and membership and marketing and all that stuff. Like, there's overhead costs. You're basically an entrepreneur, right? You're owning your own business. So unless you already know there's going to be clientele for sure, you want to weigh the risk, the money versus, time and your return on investment. Okay. Anthony, can you hold more than one license? Absolutely. People do. There's lenders that have real estate license. There's people that are licensed in two or three states. So you definitely do. But again, you just have to go through the proper state processes for all of those. All right. Any other questions? These are really, really great questions. Okay, one more. Let's see. Can a lender be an agent? Absolutely. In fact, we do have lenders that have real estate licenses or vice versa. And that just makes them a double whammy, okay? Because they can not only loan the money and make money off of that to buyer clients, but they can execute the deal as well. So that's definitely something that some people have for sure. And how much does it cost to maintain your license? Those costs slowly increase over a period of time. But initially, I think it's about $300 to apply for your license, and then it's about that much to renew every 4 years. But as far as other costs, joining your realtor board, joining the MLS, getting marketing materials, websites, that's going to vary. I would just say that could be $3,000 or so a year. If you do a lot of marketing, direct mail materials, that could be even higher. They basically tell new agents when they first start in this career to have 6 months worth of savings, living expenses available. Okay. So you want to definitely have a little cushion, or don't quit that other job yet, keep working that so that you have a way to fund what you're doing. And marketing materials, are they covered? Ryan asked, are they covered when you're with the company? They can or can't be. It just depends what brokerage you're working for. With my company, yes, we have, we pay a small fee each month for marketing, but we get our own websites. We have people designing our flyers. We have free partnerships with other outside third-party marketing companies. So it just depends on what brokerage you're working for and what they supply to you as an agent. Okay. Teresa asked, if you're making money as a lender and seller, is that not double dipping? No. You do have to disclose that if you are a lender and also a seller. And it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be loaning to the other party because it might be a conflict of interest. But, as long as everything is done properly and within legal guidelines, as an agent, you can sell your own house. You just need to disclose that. All right, these are great questions. I got to keep moving, so I'll make sure that you guys get all 2 chapters covered tonight. So we'll get back to some more discussions. So luxury properties, I'm sure you guys are all aware of the beautiful and expensive homes from your area. And these are 3 expensive listings in California from last year, 2019. So any price listing requires the same contract. So we use the same paperwork in California. And whether it's $5 million or $500,000, please don't say no to money because it's all the same paper. Okay, so here are some of the phenomenal properties that were for sale last year in California. In Los Angeles, Beverly Hills, there's a $165 million home, 20,000 square feet, 20 bedrooms, 23 baths. That is mind-blowing. That's like a small resort right there. San Francisco downtown, 11,600 square foot property, priced at $39 million. And in San Diego, in La Jolla, beautiful area, this home was $25 million at 17,000 square feet. Look at the difference between the San Diego and the Los Angeles property. There's only about 3,000 square feet of difference, but 140 million difference in the price tag. Pretty crazy. Now, I want you guys to get out your calculators on your phone or otherwise and tell me, what is the price per square foot for the Los Angeles Beverly Hills mansion? So if it's priced at $165 million and it's 20,000 square feet, what is the price per square foot for that property? And remember, there's many zeros in 165 million, so make sure you're make sure you are calculating all the zeros. Okay, we have some answers. The correct is $8,250. So $8,250 per square foot. Just to give you an idea, a comparison or context around that, in like the Valley and Sherman Oaks area, a standard regular mid-priced home might be around 400 to 500 per square foot. So this is 8,250 per square foot. Now, I want you to calculate the same thing for San Francisco. Tell me, what is the price per square foot for this $39 million property that's 11,635 square feet? Remember, extra zeros, 39 million. Good. We have some answers. $3,351.96 is the correct answer. So I'm not sure, since I'm not in San Francisco, if that's a very common or standard price per square foot, but it's not cheap. So think about it. That's a lot of money for property. And if you had last calculation, if you have a $165 million home and you were getting 2.5%, thank you, Nia, you're from San Francisco. Okay. If you were getting 2.5% commission on a $165 million home, how much commission would you be earning? 2.5% commission. If you were getting a 2.5% commission on a $165 million home. Yes, the correct answer is $4,125,000. I mean, I don't know about you, but I'd probably take off for the rest of the year. Now, in reality, you probably wouldn't sell it on your own. For a home that's as expensive and big, typically there's a team of at least 2 people selling it, so they'd be splitting that commission. But still, even if you split it, $2 million, I think most of us would be pretty happy with that. Okay, great. Fun calculations. All right, so commercial, we talked about commercial property. If you like to specialize in commercial, that means you're going to be dealing with selling office buildings, perhaps a shopping mall, warehouse, hospitals, other businesses. You do have to be familiar with terms such as internal rates of return, capitalization rates, gross rent multipliers, and other analytics. So the investor I work with has a very long spreadsheet where he calculates every single income property he looks at to see if the future income is going to be worth what he's paying for right now for it. So you want to definitely have some knowledge, working knowledge of how these calculations work and what they mean. The sales cycles are slower. So think about a large building. Yes, the commission is higher, but sometimes these deals take 3-4 years to go through because they have to go through a lot of paperwork, a lot of different parties and approvals. You have to work with the city a lot of times, especially if you're doing any development on that property. So they do take a longer time, but the payoffs are much bigger. Now the risks are also higher. So if you're working in a commercial property that's 2 or 3 years into the deal and it falls through, that's 2 to 3 years of your time you've committed without getting commission out of it. Okay, so the risks are a little bit higher with this too. That's why a lot of agents start out in residential first, because the turnaround times are much faster. You know, I've worked with clients from the day I met them for the first time to when they closed their deal, it was like 3 months or less. So, so definitely be aware of that if you're getting into commercial. And also commercial agents typically work in a commercial group. So again, big property, big sales numbers, you're going to have more than one person working on that transaction. Okay. You can also specialize in other things. Property management, there's a lot of agents that are also property managers. I don't know how they do it because it's so much time, but they are. There are some who are investors and they flip property and sell them. So that's a phenomenal avenue to get into as long as you have the capital. Some people focus on vacation homes, probate sales, tract sales. So there's a lot of areas that you can develop a niche in. Okay, so I did allude to these type of agency relationships earlier. The listing agency is the person who's working with the seller. Okay, the buyer's agency working with the buyer. And dual agency is working with both principals. Principals is another word for clients, the buyer and seller, without being disloyal to either. So that's very important. They will then earn double commission because you're going to earn commission from both buyer and seller sides. So what are my thoughts on dual agency? Is this considered a conflict of interest? Not if you're doing it correctly, it's not a conflict of interest. So as I mentioned earlier, make sure you have some experience working with both sides separately before you work with both sides together so that you understand how to manage some of the finer details of that relationship. One thing that's important, there are some rules, and one thing that's important when you're working with a dual agency that you cannot disclose from the seller side what's the lowest price they will take for the property, and you can't disclose on the buyer side what's the highest price they would pay for the property, because then it would be a conflict of interest, right? Then you're actually not being loyal to either. So fiduciary duty means being loyal. Fiduciary duty is actually a term for what we do as an agent in working with clients, is being loyal to them and representing their best interests. And in order to do that, we have to make sure that some information is kept between yourself and your client. What are some other things that could be tricky when you're working with both a buyer and a seller? What do you think are some things that might be a little bit more sensitive or more challenging to navigate? Put it in the chat box or feel free to raise your hand. While you're doing that, Brenda, I'm going to answer your question. Does the agent have to disclose that they are dual agent to both principals? Absolutely. You guys will see an example of this disclosure. It's known as the agency disclosure. So AD form. Both parties have to agree to it and be aware of it in order for you to represent them both. So Daniel, one issue you might see coming up is the seller won't budge over a small amount difference, okay? So that could, if you were representing both parties, how does that become an issue? It can be an issue for sure, but how does that become an issue? So Anthony, yes, negotiations. Ryan, would my client think that they are being shown a limited amount of properties? So if their buyer, you know, the concern could be, okay, are they not seeing everything that they could see? Because maybe you're representing the seller and you only want them to buy that house. I mean, that could definitely be a problem, yes. Any other things that you could think of that could be an issue if you're representing both? And put yourself in the shoes of the client. You know, if you were the buyer and you had an agent that was representing yourself and the seller, what would be some things that you would be concerned about? Yeah, exactly. So what if a higher bid came from a different buyer? Exactly. So if that's the case, you got to go with the best offer that your seller wants, right? You can't just push the buyer that you're representing if they don't have the best offer. Absolutely. That can be a conflict. Evan, that each might feel you're working more to benefit the other party. Absolutely. And that's probably the hardest thing, is making sure they trust you and that they're getting the perception that everything you're doing is still in their best interest, that they're not trying, that you're not doing something unbeknownst to them that's putting the other side at a greater advantage. Susan, if you know that the seller is willing to accept a much lower offer. Yeah. And that's, like I said, one of the rules of dual agency is that you cannot disclose to your buyer if your seller is what their lowest amount that they'll take. Anthony, if my best interest as the buyer is the priority. Okay. Is that a statement or you have something else with this? Your best interest as the buyer is the priority. Let me know if you expand on that. Okay, so as you can see, there's a lot of things that can come up. That's why definitely it's a great thing if you can handle both. That means you're a phenomenal agent. You're able to handle some challenging situations, but definitely don't go into it without being fully aware of what you're going into. Okay, so Anthony, who is the person going to be most loyal to? Yeah. And when you're in a dual agency, you have to be loyal to both. There isn't somebody that you're more loyal to. You actually are loyal to both equally. All right, let's move on. Good stuff. So per the law, the real estate salesperson is an employee of the broker. So again, unless you have a broker's license, you have to work and have your license under a brokerage or an agency. When you join that agency, you will probably sign what's known as an independent contractor agreement. And that is per the IRS. So we, all agents, are considered independent contractors. In tax terms, that means we're 1099. Okay. So the interesting thing is you are still considered an employee when you are hired on by a brokerage firm, but you're an employee in the sense that they are, taking care of your insurance, doing marketing, support for you, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. But you are not technically an employee in the way that there's a boss. You're your own boss. Okay. Everything you make is filed differently. Okay. And again, they pay you gross pay, but you have to account for your own taxes. Okay. There's no insurance taxes or IRA fund for you to roll anything into. Okay. So you're an employee of a brokerage, but as an independent contractor. So here's some important things you should think about when choosing the right brokerage for you. Who is employed there and how successful are they? So hopefully your agency is a combination of new people and experienced agents. So you have people who've been in the field for a while who are very successful, and then you've got some new blood. You've got fresh faces, fresh perspectives, and that keeps people on their toes, learning new things. So you want to have a nice mix of both. If you're a new agent and you feel like you want to get a little more experience under a team, you can work for a real estate team. Okay. Going back to the previous point of can you sell if you don't have a license? There's actually a lot of real estate activities you cannot do if you don't have a license. Selling is just one of them. You can't actually show an open house. You can't tap numbers or negotiate. You cannot, sign off on contracts. So there's a lot of things that you need to be licensed in order to do. Otherwise, you can still work for a team, but it would be very restricted activities. You want to make sure that you have good support and training. So support means, are there people in the office helping you with admin, paperwork, with marketing, whatever that is, okay? Maybe you're a whiz at all that and you don't need that, but some agents do. And so you want to make sure you have adequate support for what you're trying to do in your business so you can be successful. Training is super important. Like I said, it's not just for new agents. People have been in industry for a while, always need refreshers, learning, especially like technology. Technology is it's changing all the time. At my office, at Keller Williams, we have a whole new tech system they're rolling out to the entire company, and we're all trying to learn that. So, there should be adequate training so that, again, you can succeed, be the best at what you can do in terms of your skills, offer you opportunities to be coached, to role play, go on caravans, whatever that is. Okay, we used to have a little book club at our office too, in reading great business sales books. So not every office is going to have commercial sales. Mine in particular does have a commercial division, but it depends. If you're looking to commercial, do you want to be in a big office? Do you want to be in a small office? So look at the areas of activity that you're looking to focus on, and does the office itself, does the brokerage itself provide that for you? Okay. Goal setting. Goal setting is probably its own course, but in general, and if you've taken other goal setting courses, this probably looks familiar to you. But goals should be what you want. Okay, it shouldn't be what I tell you should be doing. It's what you want. That's why I asked you all earlier, what are the things that motivate you? Because they're going to be different. And only what motivates you is going to help you meet your goals, right? I always tell my new agents that I'm coaching, I shouldn't want this more than you want this. Okay, it's really your business and what you want to make of it. So make sure your goals are what you want. They have to be measurable. There's a way to measure them. And so what does measurable mean? Well, you're saying by the end of the year, you don't just give an arbitrary, I want to sell a bunch of houses. You say, I want to sell in the next 6 months, 10 homes, and I want to make X amount of money. Okay. You should be able to measure it over time, and they should be specific, very specific, but they should also be realistic. So yes, we'd all love to sell 100 homes before the end of the year, but maybe that's not the most realistic thing, right? So let's make it where we can actually meet this goal as well. Goals can be adjusted. So maybe something changed. Like I was just talking to my agent today who's putting a new listing up. She had this listing since last November. No idea, of course, like anyone would know that we'd come into this pandemic situation right now. And now the sellers decided to put their property on the market. So it's an interesting time. We talked about what it would have been like if she had sold it back last fall versus now would have been a different situation or scenario. So, so that being said, change your goals along with what's going on with your life. Okay. And write them out, put it on a vision board, put it in front of you somewhere where you see it every day, and it reminds you of what you're trying to reach. All right. Just a quick little acronym called RAD, means think reasonable. When there's an issue, stay calm, be a problem solver, stay active, get out there. Business isn't going to come to you. You got to go to it, right? And D, delegate tasks. So if there's things that you can do later or somebody else is going to do, delegate them. We like to color code tasks sometimes, which is, what are the money-making activities versus the non-money-making activities? Going out to meet clients is a money-making activity. Entering contacts in our database is important, but not a money-making activity, right? That could be delegated or done later. So you want to prioritize and delegate your tasks. Think reasonably, take action, and delegate. That's RAD. Daily plan. Sorry, I just skipped something right here. Daily plan and balance. This is another way to prioritize. You can also use a lettering system, A, B, C, or D. So A are the directly, again, money-making activities where you're actually going to get income from it. That's when you're really hunting and looking for business. B is prospecting or preparing. C is learning inventory, doing tasks to support the A and B activities. And D is your personal non-work related activities. Those are still important too, okay? You just need to manage when those happen, but maybe working out every day, taking a walk, walking your dog, spending time reading, spending time with family, your kids, doing homework with them, whatever it is, you always want to have some D time, okay, personal time. If A time can be doubled by reducing other activities, hopefully your income also doubles. So we always want to try and maximize the A time, the money-making activity time. Additional prep, know office procedures, have basic tech knowledge, be computer literate, please be tech savvy, at least know how to, do some things on social media. I mean, this is where we're going now. Video is a big thing where we're going now. Now it's a lot of online, as you're doing right now, classes and workshops. And so things are changing, and we need to keep up with what's changing in order to help our business. Great quote. He who plans to fail is planning to fail. Yes, Curtis, we live in a digital world. It's crazy, even more so now. So these are standard items that you should always have: business cards, your smartphone, computers, websites, maybe your own printer, etc. Multiple listing service is known as MLS, and this is the service that you will have a membership in, depending on where you live. There's regional MLSs, okay? And this is going to be your primary place where you're going to look for listings or post listings in this system. Now, it's going to be the most accurate because agents are putting information into this directly. Other websites that your clients are going to be looking at, Zillow, Redfin, Realtor.com, all of those. They're helpful. I'm not saying they're bad. In fact, whenever you put a listing to MLS, it goes directly automatically to those sites and posts on the sites. The difference is Realtor.com or Realtor.org, they are actually directly linked to the MLS system. So I trust that everything that's going onto that site is pretty accurate. Zillow and Trulia, same company, they are linked to regional brokerages, so their information may not be correct. So I have a lot of buyers sometimes emailing me a listing from Zillow, and they want me to check on it. It turns out that that property was sold 2 weeks ago, or the prices changed, and it wasn't showing that way in Zillow. So I don't recommend that site because I don't find it to be as accurate. However, that being said, the plus side to Zillow is you will also see a lot of for sale by owners, off-market property listings. So those are important because you will not get those on MLS. Okay. So definitely when you become a new agent, this will be one of the biggest tools you'll be working with. Okay, before we get to the brain game, which for those who are new, we always do a quick little 6-question Jeopardy style quiz just to test what you guys have learned in the past chapter and make sure you're paying attention. Okay, so we will do this, but before we do that, are there any other questions I can answer? And I see some have come through the chat box here. I do. Oh, Zachary, I don't know what you mean by benefits through KW. I get certain benefits, but as far as health insurance, no. They do give options for it. I'm through Coverage CA, which is also a good state option. But there are benefits as far as marketing, technology, support. We now have a new concierge service for seller clients. So we do have that. And we also have a training programs too. So the broker, very good question. Nia asked, the broker takes all the risk as far as insurance? Yes and no. So if you're working for a brokerage, hopefully your broker should be insuring you or helping to insure you. Okay. So you will see that more commonly with big brokerages. So Keller Williams does provide what's known as errors and omissions insurance. It's mandatory for us to have E&O insurance. The way they do it is we pay for that insurance as an agent through incrementally through each of our sales transactions. So they don't like charge us per month or per the year. Every time we make a sale, part of that sale, some of that money is taken out to cover our E&O insurance. But every brokerage is different. Okay. But you should definitely be insured because again, you're all entrepreneurs, you're all sole business owners, and you want to have insurance to do your business. Okay. Anthony, do brokers offer assistance to new agents to get the tools required to be an agent? Smartphones, laptops. Again, I can only speak for my brokerage. We had to get all our own equipment. So that's why there is some overhead costs when you're a new agent, when you first start, and you should have some money saved up for those costs. Maybe it's getting a new computer, a new cell phone, whatever that is, okay? And the good thing is because you are an independent contractor, you can write off a portion of or percentage of these costs and expenses from your taxes. Okay. So always, anything that you're purchasing for your business, make sure you keep track and keep receipts so you can do a tax write-off. Okay. Shalimar, what do I mean by keep escrow intact? I'm not sure where, I'm not sure what context I was saying that in. So if you can let me know. Ryan, can you give an example of how to prospect? Oh yeah, there's tons of ways to prospect. The first thing you should do when you're a new agent is working your own circle of family and friends. And that might be calling them, texting them, sending them emails. Prospecting is a whole course unto itself, but working open houses, doing cold calls, door knocking, which we call farming in real estate. All of those are ways to lead generate. Just getting out there. I mean, you might be a great networker. So maybe you do a lot of events, but you should be networking not just at business events, family events. You know, you got to be comfortable talking to your relatives about real estate. Yeah, that's just part of our, it's not a 9-to-5 job. It's something we are selling all the time ourselves and what we can do. So yes, there's a lot of ways for you to prospect, and you're going to try all of them as a new agent and pick the ones that you're going to be strongest in. Okay. How much is it to maintain MLS a month? It depends on what MLS, regional MLS you join. Their fee systems are all set up differently. Mine is semi-annual, so I pay twice a year. Misha, can you sell a property that's listed by another realtor? Well, you can't sell it in terms of if it's listed with another agent, that only that agent can sell that property. However, you can sell it to a buyer. Okay, so you can work with a few different buyers and try and sell that same property. But if you are working with the seller, there's only one agent that works with that seller. Okay. Jessica, if a seller sees a home and sends it to you, does it mean that they've already have a realtor, or is there still a potential that I would be the realtor? Phenomenal question. I get this all the time from my new agent. You don't know that unless they actually agree to working with you. So in real estate, always get things in writing. Okay. So if they're just seeing a home and sending it to you, that doesn't guarantee that they're going to work with you. They're just sending you a home, right? But when you know you've locked them down as a client, when there's a written agreement between the both of you, a contract. But other than that, it's free game. You know, I even tell agents working with buyers, even if they do have an agreement, does that mean they could still be looking at homes from other agents? Absolutely. People do it all the time. Okay. So you really want to make sure they're committed to you. Okay. Zachary Health Benefits. Yeah, no, Keller Williams, they have partnerships with different companies, but you want to price compare anyway with what the state offers. Okay. Okay. Anthony, I think your sentence got cut off. As an independent consultant, do you have, and then it got cut off. Okay, Anthony, can you form your own firm as well as work as an employee for a broker? No, you can only be, you either going to work for a broker, or if you become a broker, then you are a broker. Now, we do have something called broker associates. So say you have your broker license, but you don't want to quote form your own firm or company, you can select a broker and work with them as a broker associate. Okay. But you can't have multiple, you're hanging your license with one. Okay. Okay, great. These are all great questions. Let's get to our quiz, and feel free to use that chat box for the answer. Answers don't have to be in form of a question like Jeopardy, but feel free to ask it or answer it like a question. So, what is flexibility, high earning, potential, and freedom? What is flexibility, high earning, potential, and freedom? Yeah. Okay, some of you chatting it up. Correct. It's the benefit to being a realtor, why you're doing a real estate career. Good. Question number 2. The compensation that an agent earns at the end of a transaction. Correct. Commission. Question number 3. The area of specialization that most new licensees, new agents concentrate on. What area of sales do they usually concentrate on? Correct if you put residential. Yes, residential sales. Remember, it's a little bit easier in terms of time frame than commercial. Representing both buyer and seller without being disloyal to either is what? Good. Dual agency. That is correct. Number 5. A written contract between the brokerage and the agent. So what is that agreement that the brokerage and agent sign when they decide to work with each other? Anyone remember? No? Yes? Okay. Getting some more more answers. It is the independent contractor agreement. The independent contractor agreement. Okay. And lastly, a listing service where agents and brokers advertise their listings. What is the service? Good. MLS, multiple listing service. Awesome job, you guys. We are all done with chapter 1. Woo! Okay. I'm going to move right into chapter 2. Obviously, take a break if you need to. It's 8:25 right now. I just want to make sure I get through both chapters before we end tonight. So chapter 2, if you're following along in your book. Chapter 2 is on ethics, fair housing, trust funds, and other legal issues. So this is where we're going to learn about fiduciary duty a little bit. There's two things in real estate that are foundational to your career. That's law and ethics. We have to obey both. So what are these? Well, ethics is considered a should, quote unquote, a should. Ethics is your moral conduct, the moral standard that you have for living. Very important to note that ethics always precedes the law. What does that mean? Precedes the law means it takes priority over the law because it's a moral thing. Law is created by society, by human beings. We create the law that we live under. But ethics is considered something that's understood as human beings. So for those of you that know the golden rule, this is an ethical statement. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Okay, so remember, ethics, very, very important. The other side of our job is the legal side. This is not a should, it's a must. You have to do this. You have to follow this. If you don't follow this, there's consequences. Okay, so the law forms the foundation for standard of care. All licensees must follow real estate law in their state. These laws set minimum standards for what society regards as acceptable behavior. So an illegal act is a violation of this law, and there are penalties. In real estate, that penalty could be a fine, or it could be suspension, or a revocation of your license. Okay, so unlike other jobs that you've probably had, which might be corporate jobs or 9-to-5 jobs, what's the worst thing that can happen in that job? Getting fired. Okay, and if you get fired, okay, go and look for another job. But when something goes wrong in real estate, your license can be revoked, meaning you cannot practice this career at all. And you just, it's just like when you're a lawyer or when you're a doctor, if there's a malpractice suit or you're disbarred, that's it. Your career is done. Okay. So it's so important as agents to know that we have to follow ethics and we have to follow law. And there's not many careers where there is both. And most of them that have both are also ones that you have to be licensed in as well. What are other jobs that you know require a license? What are other jobs that you know that require a license? Okay, good. Nurse, doctor, EMT, CPA, yes, notary, lawyer, dentist. Okay. Oh, barber? Really? I didn't know that. Interesting. Tax service. Okay. Good. What about, when you're working with children? Childcare workers, right? I think social care workers, you have to also be licensed. Occupational therapists have to be licensed. Okay. What are some things that, even though all of these are different types of jobs and careers, what are some things that tie them together between CPA, attorney, childcare, appraiser? What are things that tie? Very good. Very good. Look at these answers. Alan said, set of standards. Aileen, a governing organization. Zachary, state or Fed. Ethics, care of people. Absolutely. You guys all hit it on the nail. There are standards and ethics, which is why these particular fields have to be licensed. And they usually deal with a person's finances or health or caring for them, right? the two important things in our lives. So these are no small matters. This is not just like, an administrative job that you're doing somewhere. You're dealing with people's livelihoods. And that's why it's so important that you follow everything. And that's why you're going through this whole process of even getting licensed in the first place. Okay. So yes, protecting the community at large, protecting your clients and the community. Okay. So very good. Here is the Realtor Pledge. Many people don't know that Realtor is a copyrighted title. So you can't actually call yourself a realtor unless you belong to a realtor association. And there's many of them, in our area. We have, like, Burbank has its own. We have one just for the Valley, San Fernando Valley. We have one that's Beverly Hills, Greater Los Angeles. So there are different realtor associations, but you should join them because it gives you legitimacy. They provide a lot of resources. When you pay your dues, you're paying not only the state dues, but you're paying the national dues as well. And more importantly, like even right now, they do a lot of legal work. Okay, they protect the lawyers legally as well. And with everything happening with the pandemic, they've been offering some really great webinars and courses and speakers regarding how to file for assistance, how to deal with the new legal forms that have come out to work with clients, COVID forms. Okay, so definitely realtor associations are very important to supporting your business. And this is their pledge and code of ethics. Other laws that are very important, and you will see this come up frequently because these are laws that really form the basis for how we operate our businesses in real estate. Fair housing and anti-discrimination laws. The Civil Rights Act of 1866, the Civil Rights Act of 1866, initially was the act that was intended to provide equal treatment for former slaves. This statement, all citizens of the United States shall have the same rights in every state or territory as is enjoyed by white citizens thereof, to inherit, purchase, lease, sell, hold, and convey means transfer or sell, real and personal property. This statement basically said anybody, regardless, not just white citizens, has the same rights in the United States to hold property or sell property in however way they want to. That is their inherent right as a United States citizen. So know this act, the Civil Rights Act of 1866, initially created as equal treatment for former slaves. From there, we evolved into the Civil Rights Act of 1968. This act expanded the description of discrimination in housing to include national origin, race, religion, and color. Sexual orientation was added in 1974. So this basically says no one can discriminate in housing on any of these aspects. And in real estate, that includes brokers, clients, customers. So as an agent, I always tell people, and I myself take the very risk conservative route. And it's important to not try and test the lines of what you can say or not say, but tread very carefully on how you word things. And we will go into another chapter that actually gets into, when we talk about advertising and marketing, this a little bit more specifically. But there's a lot of illegal acts like blockbusting, steering, where you cannot steer people towards or away an area based on race or what's going on in that neighborhood. I can't even describe a community as a certain ethnic community. Now, for those in LA and San Francisco area, you have communities. If you live in a big urban environment or a big metropolitan area, there are communities that are primarily made of one ethnicity, right? That's okay. That's normal. That's, we have Chinatown, we have Koreatown here, we have, Little Armenia. That's literally our neighborhoods. That's what they're called. However, that being said, even though you know that and your client knows that, we absolutely cannot say, oh, this particular area is primarily Asians. Okay. Even if they're Asian and they want to live in an area with a lot of Asians, we legally, as agents, cannot say that because the perception is we are discriminating. Okay, even though we know factually speaking, yes, that neighborhood probably consists of, primarily Asians or a certain ethnicity. Okay, so how do I handle that? I just say, you know what, this looks like a great area. This just fits all of your marks. Here is a website where you can look up all the demographic information. We have a thing called the internet. You can literally go in and find the demographic makeup, the income makeup, the gender makeup, the crime makeup of every city in the United States. Okay. Let them look at it on their own. Let them drive to the neighborhoods. Let them talk to their own friends and family about the perceptions of the area. But you, as a representative of them and as a real estate agent, cannot actually discriminate or say things that are going to be perceived as discrimination. Okay. And again, like I said, we'll get into more when we get into our advertising and marketing section. Okay. But always err on conservatism in how you word things, how you present things to your clients. Ryan said, can you refer to the neighborhood Chinatown? Absolutely. If that's the name of the neighborhood, Chinatown, then that's what it is. Okay. But you don't want to take it a step further. Now, there are areas, for example, Arcadia here, Alhambra, this is LA area, are primarily Asian makeup. Okay. However, I cannot present it in that way, okay, to the client. There are ways, like I said, for them to find that information on their own, and I can direct them to it. But I don't want any perception on their end that I'm trying to push them or push a particular neighborhood on them because of just race solely. Okay. But yeah, I mean, we have neighborhoods, Little Japan, Koreatown, that's just the name of the neighborhood, and that's okay. Okay. Jessica, but you can search in that area if they ask to be. Yes, absolutely. I say when I work with client, I ask them, what are your preferences? Like bedrooms, baths, neighborhood, close to work, by certain freeways, whatever that is. And I look for areas based on that. And that is it. Okay. If they ask to be in Little Romania, yes, search in that area. If they're specifically asking to be in that area, you didn't make that name. You're just searching because of that area. Okay. That's okay. So we'll talk a little bit about it more, but it's more of like not saying it or wording it in a way that's going to have them perceive that you're pushing them there because you know that there's certain ethnicities or certain types of people in that area. Okay. Shalimar, what's the advantage or disadvantage of being realtor versus real estate agent? Like I said, realtor is you're going to have more resources. You're going to be attached to a larger community, not just the state, but also national community. There's some benefits that they offer too, as far as real estate support, legal support. There's a lot of things that are helpful to your business and growth as an agent when you connect with, and legitimacy, validation for yourself as being an agent when you are part of a realtor association. Okay. All right. So, as I mentioned, these are illegal discriminatory practices. Steering was when you direct people of certain races or religions away or toward a particular area. Blockbusting is inducing panic selling by saying that prices will drop or crime will increase because of the possible entrance of a minority group to that area. That is really blatant, right? That's very, very blatant as far as discrimination or racism. But let me tell you, it does happen. It has been said, and this is why it's considered an illegal activity. Okay, so know what steering and blockbusting are. Other rules and regulations. Okay, the real estate commissioner in California sets the rules and regulations for the state. Article 10 lists all the unacceptable discriminatory practices by a licensee. Regulation 2780 indicates that any discriminatory conduct by a licensee is the basis for disciplinary action by the commissioner. So anytime you have an issue that comes up where you're violating code of conduct, ethics, law, it's actually comes down, the consequence or ruling comes down from the commissioner's board and the commissioner themselves. Okay. Very important, you will see this come up a lot too, is RESPA. That stands for Real Estate Settlement Procedures Act. This is also law. This prohibits kickbacks from service providers to agents. Who are service providers? This could be anyone. This could be a vendor, an inspector, a lender, anyone working in the industry. Okay. Kickbacks are if you're providing favor or incentive in exchange for some type of business or work. So agents will feel obligated to steer clients to maybe a lender because the lender's giving them, a percentage of their commission, or maybe they're going to, I don't know, give them 3 new leads next month, whatever it is. Okay. This is illegal. Don't do it. Always protect the best interest of your clients. They come first. It's part of your fiduciary duty, and you don't want their business being influenced in any other way. You have to be colorblind, quote unquote, in your relationship with owners as well as prospective buyers and tenants. So this applies to everybody. The only 2 people that can get a fee for referring is agent to agent. So yourself with another agent, and that agent could be in a different city or a different state. There's actually a legal form that permits referral fees to happen between agents. And that is the only kind of referral that is considered legal. Okay. I'll get to your questions in a second. So listing laws in a brokerage. There are laws for listings. And according to California, the only person authorized to represent the principal again is your client, is the broker. What does that mean? Well, I'm a sales agent. I'm a realtor. I work for Keller Williams. So when I have a seller or buyer, that person is actually being represented by Keller Williams because I work for Keller Williams. I'm just one of 200 plus agents in my office representing clients. But in essence, that client is being represented by the broker, who brokerages also have their own license numbers. So even though I'm preparing, executing the deal, all the paperwork in it, that listing still belongs to the broker and is sold under the broker's name. If I decide to leave Keller Williams in the middle of the deal, which hopefully I would not do that, but if I decide to leave and I have a seller with a listing, well, according to listing ownership law, Keller Williams keeps my client. They never really belonged to me in the first place, okay? Because again, I was representing Keller Williams. So if I leave in the middle of a listing or a deal going on with my seller, I leave, my client stays with Keller Williams and will probably be assigned to another agent. Does that make sense? Okay. So very important to know, you are representing the brokerage itself. Commission laws and rules. As I mentioned earlier, you can only be paid a commission by your broker, nobody else. You're not going to get some money on the table from the seller, from the escrow company, or anybody else. Okay. So broker will pay you your commissions because they take all the splits and other fees out of it. The only time you might, let's put it in this way, never touch any money at all. Don't touch anybody's money, whether it's the buyer's money, the landlord's checks or whatever. Always work through escrow and through your brokerage for any funds that are being transferred. And the only time you might touch any money, like a check, a live check, would be perhaps if the landlord, paid you directly outside of the agency. I don't know, whatever, if you're representing a rental listing. And then in that case, you still have to log it with your office, and then they will still pay you from that check. So even though you have that check, you're actually not going to keep that. You still have to submit that to your broker. The broker logs it, and then they pay you from that check. Okay, let me stop here to answer some of the questions that have come up in the chat. Okay, Jessica, you said you know someone that will only take clients if the housing price is 1 million or above, and does that count as steering? No, that's a great question, Jessica. If their preference is only working with those clients, that's up to them. You can pick and choose the clients that you want to work with. I think that's very limiting because, again, money is money. Don't say no, unless the time is going to be way more than what you're earning from it. But no, that's just a preference of an agent. Okay. Zachary, is there a contract for agent-to-agent fees? Yes, there's actually a standardized CAR form. CAR stands for California Association of Realtor form that you could do for referrals. And that, again, applies state to state also. So You can refer, like I've referred clientele to agents I know in Chicago and was able to get a referral fee from that. So you just want to use whatever standardized form is required by the state. Adam, if you wanted to create a company where people can buy their house online, like Zillow, would I need to be licensed as escrow? I do not know the answer to that question, but I don't think you have to you don't have to be licensed as escrow, because escrow is actually a very separate third party that just is the clearinghouse for all the paperwork and funds in a transaction. So you creating a company where people can buy houses online is a completely different purpose. So no. Jessica, are there ever situations where the buyer wants to give you an additional tip after the sale? If so, do you still have to split that with the office? No offense, that's a great question, but I'm secretly laughing inside because the buyer already feels like there's so much money, the buyer and the seller, that has been taking out in fees. They probably want to pay us less commission versus giving us extra. That being said, they will give you gifts sometimes, and that's okay. You know, things that are personal are okay. You don't have to split that with the office. Whatever is the stated commission in MLS or in your contracts is the only thing that's obligated for the office to pay you, okay? Anything else that the buyer decides to give you outside of that commission split, whether it's a gift card, a check, a dinner, a gift, whatever, that's up to them, okay? And this is important, and I'm glad you brought that up, because I will have agents ask, well, what if I have a friend who is referring me a client? You know, do I have to pay them part of my commission? No. Just like I said before, the only two people that can ever pay each other legally in referral fees is agent to agent. So if you have a friend, which is great if you do, that's referring you business, like they know of a friend or coworker that wants to buy a house, that's great. You cannot legally pay them through your commission or anything like that. However, you know, definitely consider giving them some form of gratitude afterwards, you know, whether it's a dinner gift certificate or massage somewhere or whatever it is. Okay. Definitely consider compensating them as personal gratitude, but that's never anything that's going to come out of your legal commission. Okay. Jessica, yeah, don't worry. I get this all the time because, you know, there's so many different situations and the waters can be a little bit muddy, but always remember, agent to agent is the only legal way you can pay each other for referrals. Zachary, is there a legal limit of how many listings you can have under contract at one time? No, I hope not. So remember, what you earn is totally up to you. You're going to set whatever limits you have set are the limits that are going to be. Okay. So don't set limits for yourself. You know, take on what you can, maybe hire some help if you can't handle all of your fantastic business that's coming in. But no, there is no legal limit. Absolutely not. Adam, if I become a salesperson and want to buy a house for my family, how would commission split work if I wanted to charge myself? Okay, great question. And I like this because this also comes up a lot. So a lot of people are real estate agents and they have property they want to sell or buy themselves, and that's totally fine. Like I said, you just need to make sure that this is disclosed to all parties, okay, in the listing and verbally and in paperwork, okay? And the commission split, you can still get commission. You can negotiate, you know, if it's going to be lower because you're already going to get the house, or you can keep it the same, okay? Now, different brokerages may have different protocol. So I know for ours, they typically like to have another agent sign off on it, even if you're the salesperson that's earning the commission. I think it's more for legal reasons, but it's definitely not restricted to you buying and representing yourself at the same time. Okay. You would earn a commission just like anyone else, or you can maybe take that commission and just put it towards your closing cost credits. You know, since it's your own closing costs, you can just put it right towards that. It's totally up to you what you want to do with it. Okay. Danny, how does a brokerage divvy up new clients? Does it get pretty competitive between all the realtor agents? Well, that's if your brokerage even still does that. So in the past, there was a lot of like, you know, especially before technology got very digital and social media focused, you know, there might be walk-ins, and then it would be up to whoever was the team leader, head broker, whoever, to assign work or refer work. But I think it's very different now, and it really depends on your broker manager. Okay, so I can't tell you how every brokerage does it. It might be very different. I know one year I got a referral from our team leader only because it was Thanksgiving. Everybody was out of town or with family or on vacation. I was the only one still available, and he's like, "Do you want to take this client?" I said, "Sure." And she was a high-profile celebrity client, so you know, if I was the only one that could do it, I was going to do it. So yeah, it just is going to depend on each brokerage. Okay. All right. Great questions, guys. Let me keep moving on so we can get done here. Commission disbursement. So like I said, in MLS, they'll usually have somewhere stated what the commission split is. In this particular one, it's the CSO, 3%. And 3% is great if you get 3%. Usually it's 2.5%. But technically, legally in California, if it is stated in the MLS, it is a contractual agreement. Okay, so you don't even have to fill out a separate form that says this is my commission, because if it's stated in the MLS already, that in the contract, you just initial it in the offer purchase contract that both parties recognize that it's stated in the MLS and this is what the commission is. Okay, and you just acknowledge that. So this is a legal binding commission percentage. Now, if you want to negotiate and change that for whatever reason, or perhaps you're selling an off-market listing, so it's not listed in the MLS, then yes, you will need a separate form stating that, and that's signed by both agents. Okay, but if it's on the market in MLS, you do not have to do that. All right, here's a little model of commission disbursement. So if the home was $500,000, $500,000, and the listing agent agreed to do a 6% commission with the seller, meaning the seller is going to pay 6%. By the way, only the seller pays commission in every transaction. Buyers always think, especially first-time buyers, oh, what do I have to pay you if you work with me? Well, nothing. You don't get paid until the sale happens and they find a house. So only the seller pays commission, and the listing agent, the agent representing the seller, can decide how he or she wants to split that commission with both agents. Okay, so in this case, the seller's paying 6%, very generous, great. The listing agent decided, I'm going to split it equally between myself and whoever the buyer's agent is going to be. So that means 3% per agent. Okay, so that being said, if the sale price is $500,000, 3% commission paid by seller, or 6% is $30,000, 3% is $15,000. So each agent gets $15,000. Now, after that, depending on who their brokerage is, say they have 70-30 splits with their brokers, that means of that $15,000 that they each got, 70%, which is $10,500, goes to the agent, and 30%, which is $4,500, goes to the broker. See how things start getting whittled down? Okay, so that's why I always look at this percentage, and that 3% really is like 1.5, because once you do your agency splits, pay for your franchise fees and other fees, risk management fees, insurance fees, then hold back, and California has quite high taxes, if you're not already aware, hold back 25 to 30% for taxes. Well, you're left with about half of that commission percentage. Okay. The benefit, though, is that you're selling in California, and our home prices are higher. They're appreciated compared to other cities. So you might only sell one home here versus having to sell 4 homes in, Oklahoma City. All right. So that's the benefit of selling in California. Questions on this commission disbursement? Daniel, are off-market listings generally higher paid? No. I mean, they could really be all over the board, to be honest. And the reason they're usually off-market is maybe they want to see if there's a specific buyer or seller that wants it before they put it out to the public. So they might be sending it to specific people. Maybe they feel like they can negotiate, get the right price. Sometimes when you put it out to the public, the prices can go down. They can fluctuate. Okay, so you're adding a risk to that. So it doesn't necessarily affect commission. Really, it's more about the purchase price more than anything. Okay. Okay. Let me see here. Okay, what does CSO stand for? That's Marie's question. To be honest, I don't actually know. It's different things on different MLS sites. Sometimes it's CSO, sometimes it's other acronyms. It's an acronym that's created by the MLS system that it's on. C obviously stands for commission. I'm not really sure what the S and O stand for, but that's a great question. I will find out. Anthony, can the seller negotiate the 6% lower between both agents or just their own agent? So the advantage to being a listing agent is because the seller is the only person who is paying the commission in this transaction, you have full control or power over the negotiations. Okay. If you're an agent representing the buyer, you're just, this is what the commission is, and you can negotiate with the other agent if they even agree to changing that commission. But as a listing agent, you can negotiate with the seller. So yeah, sellers sometimes will work really hard to try and get you, because they don't want to pay a lot of commission, to try and lower the commission rate. And that, again, is another separate class on scripting on how to deal with those types of objections. But you don't want to try and negotiate lower than 5%. And the split between you and the other agent is actually determined by you in most cases, okay? So the seller might say, okay, 6% is fine. You can negotiate, you can put, okay, I'm going to take 3.5 and give 2.5 to the buyer's agent. The buyer's agent doesn't know that because they don't actually see your contract unless you tell them that's what you're paying. Okay, so you do have some power in that way. When you're the listing agent, you can negotiate with the seller on the total commission, and you can determine what commission split you want to give to the other party. Yeah, Marie, it could be commission split offered. I'm not 100% sure, but that's a good guess. Okay, William, if you were to represent yourself in selling a home and you put your commission into your closing costs or waive your commission payout in a transaction, do you still pay a percentage to the brokerage, whatever split was agreed upon? Yes, because that is it's a great question, because that is the contract that you have with your brokerage, regardless of how you negotiate your deal and what is being paid out to you or not paid out or credited. The office is still going to take a split because, again, you're representing the office. Unless you're selling it as a broker yourself, unless you are the broker, okay? But if you are working under a brokerage, they're still going to take whatever split it is. So that's why it's very important, and I don't want to get too much into the weeds with this because once you become an agent, then it'll make more sense to you. But brokerages usually take whatever is taken off the top are like referral fees and things like that. Okay. But the first thing that's split is the commission. So if you reduce it by some way, or the purchase cost is reduced or whatever, you're actually disadvantaging yourself, because that split is the first thing to happen. Okay. So it's easier if I have an example to give you right now, so you can kind of see how it works out itemized. But I just don't want to get I don't want to confuse you guys and get too detailed with that. Just know, just calculate it yourself and see, like, where are you going to get the most out of this? Is it, whether it's the credit payout, whether it's in your commission costs, credit payout, you don't have to pay taxes on, right? When you have a commission, you got to do a split and pay taxes on that. So that's why I'm saying you really need to weigh out based on the transaction. I hope that made sense. A long explanation, but Zachary, is it common for sellers to raise their asking price to compensate for commission? Oh yeah. It's like, well, we want to ask more for it then because I'm paying out more. But here's the thing. Commission is a percentage of the selling price. That's not going to change. So even if you have a higher selling price, you're just going to be paying higher commission. It's all correlative to to the percentage. So and also that's not the right way to price something anyhow. Obviously, if you're a listing agent, you're going to price it based on the market and the competition that's out there. So that should never be something that you agree to do, or any seller agrees to do, to compensate for commission. Thank you, Daniel. Commission to selling office. Thank you. iPhone person, don't know who you are, but your question is, does each brokerage offer a different percentage for commission? Again, everything's negotiable. So whatever is negotiated is what the commission is. And you are in charge of your own negotiations. So sell yourself to get the best percentage that you can get. Okay, great questions. You guys are really, really thinking this through realistically. That's why I enjoy practices, because it's the real life situations you would be in, the real life business that you would be doing day to day. Okay. Oh, I missed a couple other things. Curtis, closed mouths don't get fed. Exactly. Exactly. You got to ask for it. You got to ask for it. Adam, what if you have a net listing and you wind up not making any money? Do you still have to pay the broker? I'm not sure what you mean by a net listing. If you can explain that, hopefully I can answer your question. Okay. And I would hope that you would make some money on any transaction. Hopefully that's what turns out to be the result. Jessica, if you help a friend buy a house, can you charge them less commission if you want to hook them up? Absolutely. Absolutely. My parents, as I said, were agents. My mom was a broker. She helped me buy my first condo, my first place. So because she's my mother and was representing me, she took less commission on it, just so that those costs would be brought back into the deal. Okay. So yeah, however you want to work it out, to help out a friend or family member that you're doing the deal for, absolutely. But don't short yourself, you guys. It's a lot of work to do all the stuff. And it's a lot of learning and knowledge that you're putting into it, and putting time you're putting into now to even get your license. So, give yourself what you're worth, help people, obviously, but also don't discount the efforts that you're doing. Time is money. That is a cliche, but it's a very true cliche. And you also want to, you deserve what you are doing. Whatever you're getting compensated for, you should deserve that. Okay? Okay, net listing when you only get paid if it sells over a certain amount. Oh, I see. Okay. I have not heard that term before, actually. I just learned something new. But yes, we've been in situations where we had to negotiate a situation like that. Well, if you don't make any money, there's nothing to pay, right? So no, they are only going to take a percentage out of anything that you earn. And if you don't earn anything, then there's no percentage to be taken out of it. Okay, but that's a very good question. All righty, we are done, you guys. We're at the quiz section. Really good input today and feedback from everybody. Great questions. Let's see what you remembered. What is do unto others as they would have them do unto you? What is that commonly known as, that quote? Good, the golden rule. And it has to do with ethics. That was my second follow-up question. Very good. What is a must, quote unquote, a must, part of your job? Adam. Okay, deodorant. I'm going to just trust that you, that is a personal situation. Okay, yes, it's the law. So you must follow the law. Both ethics and law is part of your job as an agent. This act was intended to provide equal treatment for former slaves. What act was this? What was the name of this act? Okay. Look in your notes if you took notes, or look in your book if you got it in front of you. Civil Rights Act of 1866 is correct. Very good. I'm glad you guys remembered the year. It's very important. Question 4. This act prohibited discrimination in housing based on national origin, race, religion, and color. Which act was this? What was the name of this one? Yes, if you put Civil Rights Act of 1968, that is correct. Good. What is that known as when you are directing people of different races away from or toward particular areas? It's a discriminatory practice. What is it known as? Excellent, you guys. Steering is correct. And lastly, our last question of the evening. The only person authorized to represent the principal, who is the client, for California real estate law. Very good. The broker. Remember, you as an agent are representing the broker, unless you're the broker themselves. Okay. Great job, you guys. We're all done. Before we close out for the evening, I want to thank you again, because I always get something out of these classes and I always learn from you, and I appreciate your participation. And this might be the only time during the week that you talk to a bunch of people at one time. I know it is for me. So thank you for joining us. If you're new, feel free to stay because I'm going to go over some things just for you new students. Okay. If you are a returning student, you're already registered, this is your first month or your last month or your middle month. Our next class is same time and place this Thursday, 7 to 9 p.m. I will be sending out a new Zoom link. So do not use the Zoom link that you used tonight. There will be a new Zoom meeting link for the rest of the classes this month. If you use this one, you will not be in class. Okay. So look out for my email on that. If there's any other questions, let me know, email me or text me. I'm going to stay on though to answer everybody else's questions, new participants. Okay. Thank you guys again. Stay safe. Have a great evening. And I will talk to you very soon. Okay. I'm still on though. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And I will, oops, I do need to share my screen. I apologize because I forgot there are some slides. Okay, here we go. All right. New folks, first timers. You guys made it. That's great. Number one, be proud of yourself. So just to recap, if you're thinking of signing up, it's 3 courses that are mandatory by the state that you'll get from CA Realty. That's principles, real estate principles, practices, and the elective, which is finance. These classes are included, all these classes. If you don't want to do them, that's totally up to you. You can sign up for the pre-recorded option or just do online studying or book studying on your own, okay? But you cannot do both. You can't do the pre-recorded and the Zoom. They're 2 totally different packages, okay? There are payment plans. The books are optional, but I highly, 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 highly recommend them so you can follow along if you take class. All of your tests and quizzes are going to be open books, so it is helpful to have them. They're only like, I think they're $50 more. So the package for all 3 courses is $399. I think it's $451 if you include the books. Okay. Again, we do 1 course per month if you're thinking of staying with the classes. Typically they're in person. So at some point, if we are in person again soon, hopefully you'll be in an in-person class instead of Zoom. And we do them the first 3 weeks of every month, and we take the last week off. So the beginning of every month, the first Tuesday and Thursday from 7 to 9, you're going to get a new course. Okay. So here's the prices that I had mentioned earlier. You have the online portal at your access, all the state exam prep courses, a whole bunch of study material. You can even do ebooks. Okay. If you only want to do the online package and exam prep, it's a little bit less expensive. It's $154.99. Course videos are $129.99. And then our additional prep course that you don't need to worry about until you're done with all 3 courses, that's $150, which is really a steal. Other places are $200 or more. Okay. So here's a 3-month payment plan. If you want to do a payment plan, it's totally up to you, and you can work with CA Realty on this. Okay. And they've pretty much evenly distributed out your payments. And that's it. So let me spend this time answering some questions right now, which I see there are a few in the chat box. Okay. So Lionel, quick question. With everything that's going on, when can we expect to do the fingerprint scan, and can we take the state test without having that done? Lionel, great question. you have to do fingerprinting. That is part of your application to take the license exam. So you do have to submit that, okay, and get it done. Now, fingerprinting facilities right now, some are open and some are closed. So I would recommend that you call before you show up at any place because not everybody is open. I'm not sure if you're in LA, Lionel, or in Oakland or San Jose, but in LA, we have a partnership with a fingerprinting company. So they're giving a discount to students for one of their locations in Bellflower. Okay. I know of another student that did one in Burbank for a very good price. They usually have the state and federal fees in addition to their regular fingerprinting price. Okay. So, I don't know with everything going on when and what's available, but definitely give people a call because I do know there are facilities open right now. Okay. Curtis, you received an email. The books are back ordered and will be delivered late. Okay. Somebody else asked that too, and I didn't know, but okay. If you got an email from CA Realty, then that's probably the case that you're getting them late, which is crazy because usually they are, maybe it's because of everybody's signing up right now through Zoom. Thank you for that PSA. Okay. When applying to take the exam, the certificates have to be received within a certain time frame. I'm assuming you're asking me about the course certificates, and so the certificates from your courses are going to be all submitted at the same time to take the exam. When you decide to submit them is totally up to you. I don't know on an expiration date if that's what you mean about the certificates, but I know with CA Realty, like I said, you have a year to take them. So that's a good question. I can find out if there is something, or you can call the DRE and see. Okay. Anthony, how do I ensure I get the information for Zoom to attend the next class? I have all of your emails, so hopefully you got my last email. And if you are already registered for class, I have your name and you will get that Zoom meeting link. If you are not registered yet, you're a new person and you have not purchased any of the courses, you will not get that Zoom link until you're registered. Okay? Jessica, can you have the crash course later on? Yeah, you can do the crash course whenever you want. You can purchase it now, you can purchase it later. What I'm saying is you don't actually need to take the course, the prep course, until right before the state exam. So it's recommended before the state exam date, you take the prep course within 1 to 2 weeks before, because that course will cover everything on that exam and you want to retain and remember all that information. So you're not even going to take that course until a week or two before your exam date. Okay. Shalimar, your question was in regard to the reasonable active delegate part. Underneath reasonable, it said something about the escrow was falling apart. Okay. Hey, Shalimar, hi. If you can screenshot and email that to me, because I'm not sure what that's referring to. I don't remember that in the PowerPoint. So if you saw that in the book, just screenshot it. And for everybody, if you see anything at all that you're not sure of or don't understand or is confusing or maybe not explained correctly, we have found discrepancies too, and on some of our text information. Just screenshot it to me, and I can figure it out. Zachary, you're a little confused. I'm pretty sure I paid already. You paid for, what did you pay for, Zachary? Did you pay for the courses? I'm not sure what you paid for. Maria, Certifix is a good one. Okay, oh, you mean for fingerprinting? Okay. I don't know who MacBook is, but if you can tell me, Ontario Haynes. I will check Ontario because I don't have my list in front of me, but if you are signed up, I probably have your email address. I'm going to give my email address to everybody in case you're not sure that you're on my list or you didn't get my email from this morning, but make sure this is my email address. Make sure that everybody emails from me from this address, and I will check to see if you're on the list. Okay. Adam, yes, fingerprinting is a required part of you applying for the state exam. They have to be submitted along with all the birth certificates in the application. Okay, so again, no rush to do it if you are not done with your courses. You don't have to do it tomorrow. It's only when you are ready to apply and send in your application to the DRE. But it is required. Ryan, just curious, I have moved out of state temporarily. Will the video classes be going on for a while? So the Zoom classes are going on as long as it's up to the state and our governor. So we are just following state regulations and guidelines, and I don't really know. I don't know what we do, how long we're going to be doing the Zoom classes. So hopefully, I know we'll be back in class, hopefully sooner than later. All right, what if you're fingerprinted as a licensed insurance agent and notary? Do you need another fingerprint? That's a great question because it's come up from many other people who have also gotten fingerprinted in the past. That is a DRE question. I cannot answer that. They can tell you what is required or the time frame or whether a certain fingerprinting qualifies for the real estate one. So again, the DRE, and I'll put the website link in my email to you all. Just go on to their website. I believe it is. I'm going to type it right here. And they should have some FAQ sections or a way to contact them. Just FYI, the DRE is currently closed. They're not operating right now. So they, you should try emailing them. I've tried calling them. No one answered the phone for 20 minutes. So try emailing them and find out. Okay. Okay. Susan, you signed up with Century 21 and paid for it, took the test for escrow, kind of disappointed they're unorganized. What are my options? Susan, I'm not sure what you mean by the escrow course. So if you can tell me what you mean by that and what you paid for. And I'm not with Century 21, so I don't know what kind of programs they have. So I may not be able to answer your question. Brenda, for the in-person classes, is the same trainers, instructors? Yeah, it's me. You get me for Tuesdays, 7 to 9 p.m. And I teach all 3 of the courses every single month, each course. Okay. So you won't be getting different people, same information coming from me. Okay. Anthony, great. I'm glad you signed up. Awesome. Wendy asked, what subject will be tested on the state exam? That's another great question because it's everything. So I can't tell you, I just tell you to all study everything. The algorithm for the state exam changes periodically. I don't know how often. I don't even know what the algorithms are. So it might be, you know, 1 year it might be 20% on appraisals, 10% on property management, 40% on finance, and maybe the next time they change it, it's 30% finance, 20% on property management. So there's different algorithms for the state exam, and that's why I encourage you all to do a prep course when you're ready to, because that will probably explain a little bit better about the content and how it will be separated on the test. Okay, but for now, just study everything. Okay. If you have not got an email from me, then let me know. But I just sent my email address out to you all. It's angela@angelasola.com. It's in the chat. Make sure that it could be in a spam box. Make sure that you search and got an email from me. If not, let me know. Okay? Just send me an email at that address. Okay, Zachary got a classes books, great. The in-person class is also 2 hours. Yes, it's the same amount of time. So we're not doing this any longer or shorter than what the in-person classes would be. Oh, Susan, you just meant their elective was escrow. Okay. I don't know. Again, I'm not really, I have no idea, or I'm well versed in Century 21, so I'm not sure if they're, number one, if their course is accredited. I'm assuming it is. And if you have something to sort out with them, that would have to be worked out with Century 21. And I'm not even sure that CA Realty, because these are all one package, whether that would be accepted in or not. So if you're already signed up for this or considering it, I would just do this 3-course package as it is, because like I said, finance is definitely going to be one of those topics that you're going to see probably more frequently as a test question. And it's really applicable to your daily business as a real estate agent. So I work nights. I can't do a live class. So if I purchase the package, do I get support? Yes, absolutely. Like I said, if you can't or don't want to do the live classes, that's totally fine. There's online options. There's pre-recorded videos. And CA Realty has a full student support staff. So yes, you will be fully supported regardless of what option you choose. Adam, yes. So if they live shelter at home, it's going to be up to CA Realty as to how they want to or when they want to implement the in-class portions again. There will be no Zoom meetings if there is in-person classes, because the Zoom meetings were only meant as a substitute for the in-person classes. They were never like offered as an option. So that's a great question. Okay. Maria, I'm going to send in my email, the website and the phone number for CA Realty, and they can answer all your enrollment questions. Okay, so you will get that email without all the information. But if you want to go to it now, I'm going to type in the website address. It's just carealtytraining.com. Okay, and they are going to be the ones that can help you and answer your questions as far as registration. Okay. Susan, how do we take exams since there's no in-person classes? Your exams are all going to be online for the courses. Okay, so all your exams are online. Nobody is going to be administering the exam. The license exam, now the state license exam is different. That is in person. Right now, I don't know when they are starting them back up. I know they were suspended for the entire month of April. So, you know, those might be delayed as far as in-person exams. But for your course exams, all of those online. Okay, everything's online, Susan. So if you haven't gotten to your portal yet, just log in with your student information and you'll see all the information there. All right, great questions, everybody. Thank you for being so participative, and hopefully we've answered a lot of them. I look forward to seeing you, if not this Thursday, but in a future class. I hope you all take it seriously and really consider if this career is going to be the right one for you. And if so, I look forward to helping you. Okay, so thanks, guys. Stay safe, and I will talk to you soon. Have a great evening.